Building your personal brand on social media is the number one cheat code that will unlock more opportunity, more finance, more deals for your property investing business. But most people don't understand the difference between content creation versus building a personal brand. And it's this distinction that allowed me to build a property business where we're now under construction on almost 14 million pounds worth of property, and allowed me to raise multiple seven figures from private investors, primarily investors that originally found me through social media. And so before I get into exactly how you can start building your personal brand, the type of content you should create and how you should create it, I first want to make sure you're absolutely clear on why building your personal brand is so important. And as you might know, at this point, we live in an attention economy, and so much opportunity is downstream from attention. And the keys to the kingdom, the riches lie with those who are able to generate attention, generate an audience of people that know, like, and trust them, and then convert that attention into wealth. You've only got to look at the likes of people like Kylie Jenner, who was named the youngest billionaire in the world because of her brand, but also her ability to convert that attention, the audience of people that know, like, and trust her, into wealth. Or the likes of The Rock, who, yes, made a lot of money acting and in Hollywood, but now has made most of his wealth with his tequila brand. Or Conor McGregor with his whiskey. The list goes on and on and on. One of the best examples in the property space is Grant Cardone. Love him or hate him, he's been able to acquire a multi-billion-dollar real estate portfolio because he's gone to raise $1 billion from his audience. He is a master of building his personal brand. And I've been very fortunate to spend a lot of time with a lot of people who have built huge personal brands. And one thing I spotted early on when I was in proximity with them is how intentional they are behind the scenes with their brand. And it's this intention that is the distinction from someone being a social media content creator to building a personal brand. And so the reason that you see all of these names I've just mentioned, and even myself, create content is because they understand the leverage that content creation brings. Because I can have this conversation one-to-one with a friend and tell them everything I'm about to tell you now, but I could have the same conversation to the camera, and by then putting this out onto social media, this is going to work for me 24/7, 365. I'm essentially replicating myself, where I can create it once and it can be viewed and listened to hundreds, thousands, even hundreds of thousands of times every single day, day and night, for many years to come. And so you might be watching this one day after publishing, 1 year after publishing. This piece of content is something I've created once and is still working for me. Now, for property investors or people wanting to build their property business, creating content, building a personal brand is the number one thing you can do. Primarily, the biggest opportunity that unlocks is your ability to raise private finance from investors. And so if raising private finance is a skill that you're really looking to learn, I encourage you to check the first link in the description below this video, where I explain to you the best ways for not only finding private investors, but also how to actually structure deals and capitalize your property business the right way with private investors. But in this video specifically, I want to talk to you about creating content on social media and the distinction between building a personal brand. And so to start the conversation around creating social media content, often I find is when I'm having this conversation with people for the first time, creating content and putting themselves out there often comes with an element of hesitation and anxiety. And when I get to the root cause of it, if maybe you relate to this and you feel there's some kind of anxiety, that feeling in your stomach when you think about putting yourself out there on social media, often when I get to the bottom of it, it's a fear of judgment. Now, it could be a number of other reasons. Some people think, they want to be a perfectionist, whatever, but actually even that boils down to the same key point. It's a fear of judgment. And what I found is the best mental reframe to help you overcome that fear of judgment is the fear of judgment is rarely about actually what everybody's going to think and what everybody's going to say. Now, of course, when you get your first nasty comments from a stranger online, which for the most part, once you start to create more content and build a big audience, it's inevitable. But you'll get over that at that point. But taking that first step, creating that first piece of content, the fear of judgment is less about what everyone's going to think. And actually, if you're really honest with yourself, it's a fear of what 1, 2, 3, or just a handful of people are going to think. And if you really sit in that thought for a second, and you might relate to this, it could be family members, it could be your partner, it could be your school friends or your close circle of friends that maybe aren't entrepreneurs. And I want you to get really clear on who these people are that you have this fear of judgment about. And so the mental reframe is this. I want you to think about what you're trying to achieve. Like, really, what is the goal here? And how is putting yourself out there on social media going to play such an important role in building your brand and ultimately helping you unlock access to the things that you want to achieve later down the line? And then I want you to think about how, by you not doing that, by you not taking the action because you have this fear of judgment over what these few people are going to think, well, you are giving these people the emotional hostage over you to not take that action. And the question you have to ask yourself, are you going to let those people have that control over you? Because if you do, you'll just learn to resent them. And if you do learn to overcome that, and this is kind of clicked when you think, actually, Tyler's so right, I shouldn't let the fear of what these few people are going to think. What you'll quickly realize is, yes, they might make a couple of comments when you're just first starting out, but actually the positive reinforcement, the positive feedback you'll get from everybody else will far trump any nasty comments that they make. And actually what will happen 12 months, 24 months, 36 months later, those same people that you had this fear of judgment about are going to be asking you for advice. They're going to be asking you for jobs. Trust me, it happened to me. It's happened to everyone else that I know. And so you have to just separate how you feel from what you do and start. Now, maybe I'll do a whole other video on the different ways you can create content and different types of content you can create, because this is a whole rabbit hole I could spend easily 10 hours going into granular detail on. But the key is to just start. And the key to starting is just documenting what you're doing already. Whether that is you're attending viewings, whether that is you are watching this video, or whether it's you're attending events, you don't have to be some kind of guru that's sharing wisdom with the world. You just want to document what you're doing and what you're learning. Once you've done that, you can then start to collaborate with other creators as well, which is a really beautiful way to create a win-win scenario where you are bringing your audience to somebody to showcase their deal. And for them, they don't have to think about shooting the content, editing the content, because you're going to be responsible for all of that. But it's a win for them, it's a win for you. And so I'm going to do a whole separate video on the content creation, content strategy side of things. But the other thing that I want to talk about in this video is the importance of the distinction between creating content and building a personal brand. Because I've been very blessed, very fortunate enough to have spent a lot of time with a lot of people that have built some of the biggest brands in the online space, genuinely. And one thing I spotted very early on, which became very obvious to me, is that these guys that have built these personal brands, these guys that you see online that you follow, even myself, is they're very intentional with how they show up online. They're very intentional in the brand that they're creating. Now, I'm not going to say they're inauthentic. Maybe some are, but for the most part, my experience is most of them are very authentic. But their brand is, your brand is what people know about you. It's what people associate with you. And ultimately, the difference between a content creator and someone building a personal brand, someone that has a personal brand, there's a lot more depth. It's a more three-dimensional. And if you follow someone for long enough, and they're doing a good job of building their personal brand, you're going to start to know lots of things about that person, and you're going to start to build an emotional connection with them, even though you've never met them in person. I meet some people that followed me for years on social media, watched a lot of my content on YouTube, and they come to say, Tyler, I feel like I know you so well. I was like, well, I have no idea who you are. But because they've sat and they've spent what can be hours and hours with me, i.e. watching me, their brain has built this emotional connection because they learn more about who they are. They're more three-dimensional. And so the reason I say building a personal brand is very intentional is the first thing you got to figure out is, what is your positioning? How are you positioning yourself? Because your positioning is what makes you unique. It's also what makes you credible. And so I've used this as an example in a previous video, but if you're maybe ex-military and you're coming out the military and you're getting into property, that's a story you want to lean on. You want to be able to showcase to the world the things you achieved, the problems you solved, who you had to be successful in the military, because that's going to form part of your brand. And then that is going to attract and align with an audience of people that align with that maybe are in the ex-military or have worked in the services themselves. They're going to see a version of themselves in you, and therefore that's going to deepen that relationship. Maybe your values are that you are more of a family person, very family orientated, and that's something you can show up online. And now I get it, there are things you're going to want to be private about. Another objection I hear about building a personal brand is people say, oh, I'm a very private person. Well, that's fine. But again, what I find is they're private about certain aspects of their life, but they're happy to be very public about other aspects of their life, and that's fine. And so continue to promote the areas of your life that you're happy to be public about, and be very private about the things you want to be private about. I have things that I'm very private about, but I'm still happy to show up online and showcase many different parts of my life. Understanding your position is essentially asking yourself, who am I and who do I want to show up as? Because building your personal brand is less about putting yourself in the spotlight. It's more about becoming the spotlight and being able to put the spotlight on different areas of your life, different versions, different parts of yourself. And if you're ex-military, or if you are someone that is worked as a lawyer, or worked as this, or worked as that, as a project manager in a totally different industry, whatever it is, you worked as a builder and you're managing teams of people and you are responsible for doing contracts that were multiple six figures, that is who you are, and that's the things that you need to put the spotlight on, because that positioning is what allows people to see a deeper side of you and really build that connection, because that's what we're optimizing for. We want people to know, like, and trust us. So what is your positioning? And what are the values that you want to demonstrate? If you're someone that goes to the gym every single day, in my opinion, that's a very investable character trait. I can see that someone that goes to the gym every single day, there's certain assumptions I can make about them. They're very disciplined, they're hardworking, they care about their health. And so you might think, what has that got to do about property? Why do I need to showcase to the world that I'm going to the gym? Because that reason, because of what it shows the world, what it demonstrates to people. And those people that also have those same values, they are going to align with you. And so people that go to the gym, look after their health, they're probably going to be more likely to do business with you than they are with someone that neglects their health and isn't in a good physical condition. Now, the other thing with personal brand is it has to be personal. So I see a lot of people starting their social media channels where it's the name of their company, it's their logo, which is fine. And you maybe do want to have a social media account which showcases some of your work, but people are interested in following people. Just look at how many followers Elon Musk has on Twitter versus Tesla. It's exponentially more people are interested in following Elon. The same with Richard Branson and Virgin. The amount of people that follow Richard Branson is exponentially higher than the people that follow Virgin, because people are interested in people. People want to see faces, they connect with faces, they connect with stories more. So your positioning, your story, is very important to show that in a personal way. And like I say, when you do that, when you show up and create content through your personal account, your personal brand, it allows you to become the spotlight, where you can put the spotlight on your story, you can put the spotlight on the deals that you're doing, you can put the spotlight on the team that you're building, you can put the spotlight and showcase the mission that you're on, the business goals that you have, the type of people that you work with. And so the key with social media is just to start, keep it personal, be very intentional with who you are, your story, how you want to show up as online. Understand that it's a long-term game and you want to create digital assets that are going to work for you 24/7, 365. It's the highest form of leverage in business, and it compounds over time. I'm going to do another video in the future breaking down exactly A to Z, a full social media strategy for property investors. But if raising private finance is something that you'd like help with, you want to scale your property investing business, and you understand that you're going to need more access to capital and just relying on your own capital isn't going to cut it, check the first link in the description where there's a video of me breaking down the exact process of how you can not just use your personal brand, but other strategies as well to connect with investors and how to structure these deals with investors. Appreciate your time and attention as always. I'll see you on the next one.